Hello and welcome to Camp Xtras. In the 90s, Warner Brothers Animation was on a hot streak of great TV shows, from Batman the Animated Series to Tiny Toon Adventures. Most of these shows were either filled with gripping stories or great laughs. One of the best comedies of the bunch was the Animaniacs. Since it was the 90s, it had to get some game adaptations. One of them is a game for the Genesis, simply titled Animaniacs. I recently played through this game, and I'd like to give you some history along with a review. All footage was captured from a Sega Genesis, and let's go ahead and hop into this one. In the early 90s, Warner Brothers sought to establish a working relationship with Steven Spielberg, which ultimately led to a decade of animation hits. What started with the great Tiny Toon Adventures sprouted into the Animaniacs, a cartoon where the Warner Brothers and sister were cartoon dogs and pulled off insane hijinks. Mixing cartoon slapstick humor, parodies on pop culture, and classic comedy, you get an insanely weird but memorable cartoon, one that I vividly remember enjoying. Starting in 1993, this show was a hit initially with high viewership from children, but also adults, leading to it winning many awards in 1994. Although I was unable to find much information on this game's development, it appears to have entered production quickly given its 1994 release date. It was to be developed and published by Konami, which was making great games at this point in time. In North America, Animaniacs would release in November 1994 for the Genesis and Super Nintendo, with a European release in December, and Japan only getting the Nintendo version in March of 1997. A Game Boy version was also released in 1995. I've never played this one, but I saw it on my shelf and I thought it was about time. So let me tell you how I felt about it. In Animaniacs, the gang of three team up to open a pop culture store, and they plan on stealing props from around the Warner Brothers lot in order to put up this store. You hop from set to set as the Animaniacs reminisce on the movies, but in the background, Pinky and the Brain plan on stealing the props to dominate the world, and they end up being the final boss. A perfect cartoony plot for the show, mixing a bizarre story that's not huge and is about going around a movie studio. Mixed in are small cutscenes with dialogue, which feels like the show. It's tiny, but it's a nice way to make it feel like the show, and I think the plot is good fun and a nice way to set up the gameplay. You initially get 4 levels in a movie studio, and you can freely move between them, with a 5th level opening up at the end. All 4 levels parody genres, including adventure, horror, western, and sci-fi, all giving you different obstacles and challenges as you go along. This is a puzzle platformer that has you swapping between the 3 siblings. You can jump with one button, swap with the other, but each has a unique power all their own. Yakko is stronger and can push boxes. Wacko has a mallet and can break objects, and Dot can charm enemies with a kiss. You use a mix of these to traverse platforming levels. It's a fun concept that I've seen before, but what helps it here is that the controls are spot on. The jumping and moving all feel great and tight. Never once did floaty controls get in the way, and all the platforming challenges are solid. The level design was well done too. With only 5 levels, they end up packing a good amount into each one, with some being endurance challenges of dodging enemies and box puzzles to platform better. None last longer than they need to, and it fit a brisk pace for a game like this. It requires you to swap around a lot, and the game is no slouch either. This game will have you swapping on the fly in order to move past areas, or you will die. If you die, you restart these long levels from the top after losing all your lives. It's not challenging due to any weakness of control, it's actually just solidly designed. I found that the design of every level and the fun worlds were great challenge gauntlets, and I found all of the platforming to be fun. The only real issue I had was the underuse of Dot. She is hardly used at all, and you end up skipping her on the roster a lot. I would have liked more puzzles to give you a bit more to swap between everyone. Other than that though, I was into the puzzle gameplay and it felt great to play through. Somehow the simplicity of the controls met with some fun box pushing challenges and action to make for a game that I found hard to put down once I picked it up. The music in Animaniacs is well done. Every level embodies the genre from which it comes. Horror has a nice haunted vibe, and the Western world has a nice whistle to it. The composer here gets the Genesis right, where the music isn't scratchy and it carries a lot of bass. It all adds to the fun rhythm of the game. All of the sound design is solid with cartoony sound effects like mallet hits and runs, which adds to the cartoony world. One thing I do like is the lack of digitized voices. I feel like they could have easily added in clips from the game, but it would have been more distracting than quality, so I'm glad this was avoided. Graphically, once again, the game really pops. I love the use of color here and how diverse all of the levels are, from the dark color palette of the horror levels to the nice greens of the jungle. They look really clean here, and all of the animations are captured well. It feels straight out of a cartoon, and you can tell that it was really inspired by it. All around, the audio and visuals are handled well. Animaniacs ended up winning me over. It's a good-looking Genesis game capturing the feel of the show along with the music and sounds. And most important of all, it's a great playing puzzle platformer with solid puzzles and tight platforming. It ended up being a blast and a game that took up a nice afternoon playing around with it. It's not just good for fans of the show, but also anyone who just likes a great platformer. I've only reviewed 2 Genesis games so far, but if I were to rank them, this one would go in at number 1. It's better than Outrun because it looks far better and has more to do in it. It doesn't feel like a half-baked arcade port and does something that stands out on the console. Due to its age, Animaniacs does not feature a Metacritic score, but it received fine reviews upon release. Next Generation, in their second ever issue, gave it a 3 out of 5, saying that it's not a lot of content, but what was there was fun. Electronic Gaming Monthly was also positive on it, saying it was faithful and had killer graphics. This and the Super Nintendo games both came out to fine reviews, and I see the Genesis version gets recommended to this day, although it does hold a 2.9 average on Backlogged with over 80 plays. It only has one middling review, and that's it. Animaniacs games would not end here, and there would be more released for the PC and PlayStation. They would even continue past the show's cancellation, getting a 6th generation video game release. The future of the show continues on, getting a revitalization in the late 2020s, so the legend of this great cartoon continues on. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, it helps me out in the algorithm. Be sure to check out my main channel, Camp Xbox, for retro Xbox content, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xtras.